hematopoiesis and its sites.
Hello everyone. Today we'll be studying about hematopoiesis. Hematopoiesis is the topic of hematology, and today we'll be discussing on what is actually hematopoiesis. So, we'll be starting it very simply. The concept will be very clear. Okay. So, first of all, what is heme? Hematopoiesis comes from two different words, heme and poiesis. Heme simply refers to blood. Heme means blood, and poiesis means synthesis. So, overall, hematopoiesis is the process which involves synthesis of blood or blood components. Let's break it down into different terms. To define hematopoiesis, we can define hematopoiesis as it is the process of formation, differentiation, and maturation of blood cells. Let's be very clear. Formation, differentiation, and maturation of blood cells. So now here comes what are these terms? What is formation? What is differentiation? And what is maturation? Let's study this one by one. So let's start from formation. In this picture, we can see a cell, and this cell is stem cell. Okay, so let's be familiar about stem cell. What is stem cell? So stem cell is any cell which has not been differentiated into other cells. Means it is the cell of origin. This cell can form different types of cell. At this moment, we do not know which cell will it become. So the cell of the origin, which we do not know about its lineage, we don't know which cell will it become. So such original cell is called stem cell. And this stem cell, if gives rise to blood cells, it is known as hematopoietic stem cell. Okay, so we have a hematopoietic stem cell. So slowly this hematopoietic stem cell will multiply. Cells have property to divide. So this will slowly multiply, or we can also say proliferate, and it will give rise to numerous cells known as blast cells. So these blast cells are the immature cells which will later on mature into different types of blood cells. These blast cells are also called precursor cells or immature early cells. So, simply, formation means a process in which one hematopoietic stem cell multiply or proliferate into numerous blast cells or immature cells. So, to summarize, we can say formation means creation or production of new blood cells. Now, let's talk about what is differentiation. Differentiation is the process in which early blood cells. From the formation, we understood one hematopoietic stem cell gives rise to numerous immature cells. Now, those early immature cells they now become committed to a specific blood cell line. That means they become specified to become certain type of blood cell, and this is known as differentiation. For example, some cells becomes RBC, some become platelet, some become WBC. So they start to enter specific bloodline. They start to choose which cell they want to form. So it is differentiation. Early blood cells get committed into specific blood cell line. So, differentiation is simply deciding what type of blood cell it will become. Either the enter erythroid lineage to become RBC or myeloid lineage to become WBCs like granulocytes, neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, or lymphoid lineage to form the lymphocytes. So, differentiation is deciding what type of blood cell it will become, erythroid lineage, myeloid lineage, or lymphoid lineage. So, this is what means differentiation. Now, let's talk about maturation. Maturation is simply the structural and functional development of the cell. So it's simply the structural and functional development of blood cells. Okay, so the committed cells. These committed cells from the differentiation process, they now undergo changes. Like they go changes in shape, structure, size, nucleus, cytoplasm in order to become a fully matured cell. So finally, cells become mature after these changes. So, in this process of maturation, the cell becomes fully functional and ready to enter the bloodstream. So, it is the process in which the differentiated cells, the committed cells, now undergo structural and functional development. They undergo changes and become ready to enter to the bloodstream. So, to summarize, formation simply means making new cells, differentiation means choosing the cell type, and maturation means becoming a fully functional blood cell. So, overall, hematopoiesis is the process of formation, differentiation, and maturation of blood cell. Now let's move forward to our site of hematopoiesis. So, what are the sites of hematopoiesis? From which site hematopoiesis occurs? Okay, so in the very beginning we have yolk sac. Yolk sac is the first site of hematopoiesis. So, during the pregnancy, when the embryo is formed, yolk sac is the first site from where hematopoiesis starts. So it begins around the 19th day of the embryonic development, means around 3 to 6 weeks. After the fertilization, from 3 to 6 weeks, hematopoiesis starts from the yolk sac, and this phase is also known as mesoblastic phase. So, if somebody is talking about the mesoblastic phase, we can simply be clear that yolk sac is the site from where hematopoiesis is taking place. Similarly, the second site or the second significant site is fetal liver. Hematopoiesis occurs in the liver of the fetus between 6 to 22 weeks of gestation. That means after the yolk sac, it's the fetal liver from where hematopoiesis starts. And this phase is also known as hepatic phase. Hepatic simply refers to the liver. So, in this phase, liver is the significant site from where hematopoiesis occurs. And in this phase, the developing spleen, kidney, thymus, and lymph nodes also contribute to the hematopoietic process. That means in the hepatic phase, it's not only the liver from where hematopoiesis is occurring. Liver is the But in this phase, there are other sites which are contributing in the hematopoiesis like spleen, kidney, thymus, and lymph nodes. So, liver is the major site of hematopoiesis during the second trimester. And third, we have bone marrow. So, in bone marrow, hematopoiesis starts before the fifth month of gestation and continues throughout the life. That means in adult, bone marrow is the major site of hematopoiesis, which starts during the pregnancy. That means before the fifth month of pregnancy. And once it gets started from the bone marrow, it continues throughout the whole life. And this phase is called medullary or myeloid phase. The phase from where hematopoiesis occurs from bone marrow is known as medullary or myeloid phase because it occurs in the medulla or inner part of the bone. That means medullary part. Medulla simply means the inner part of the bone. So, if the hematopoiesis is occurring from the inner part of the bone medulla, it is called medullary or myeloid phase. Example: bone of the skull, sternum, iliac crest, proximal end of the Lars bone, etc. So these are examples of the bone marrows from where hematopoiesis occurs. So simply to summarize, we can say the major sites of hematopoiesis include yolk sac, fetal liver, and bone marrow. Other organs like spleen, kidney, thymus, lymph nodes also contribute during this hepatic phase. So, this is all about the site of hematopoiesis.
Follow for more.